Very good evening to all of you. Hello and welcome, guys. My name is KP Singh, and I welcome one and all to the 22nd episode of Weekly Law School. So, welcome Arya, welcome Prachi, welcome Swastik, hello Manav, hello Parth. Welcome one and all for today's session. Guys, this is going to be a short session, so I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. I know Sunday is a busy day and festive season is going on, and most of you are already busy with your boards exam. So, we'll try to finish off today's agenda in next 20 minutes. So stay tuned. Let's start. In order to select the best quality, go to the settings tab and pick the best option available on your device. You guys can experience superior CLAT preparation with IMS Learning Resources by enrolling for a zero free program without paying a single penny. Just go to imsindia.com, check out the courses, enroll for one, and check out all the features available on my IMS app as well as portal. The first news item that I want to discuss is Ram Milan versus State of UP and others. In the previous episode, we discussed Vishal Tyagi. If you guys remember, can someone tell me what was Vishal Tyagi case all about? Let me just go through the live chat. Welcome Harshita, welcome Champak Lalgara, hello Vanshika, hello Ilma, welcome Riddhi, welcome Kaima, welcome Vansh. Chaliye, so Vishal Tyagi, a case that we discussed in the previous episode. It related to the recent shooting incident at the Rohini court in Delhi. So now we are seeing now we are witnessing consequences of that incident. Lawyers, advocates at many courts are not feeling that safe, and one such advocate has approached the court seeking arm license for a gun. So what are the facts? Court was hearing a plea filed by Ram Milan. His application to get an arms license was rejected by the licensing authority as well as the appellate authority, because there was no good ground to grant a firearm to him. So when you are applying for firearms, when you are applying for a weapons license, you need to cite some good reason to get one. So why should we allow you to possess a gun? Can you give me a very good reason for getting an arms license in a country? Yes, Sachetan, that case was regarding protecting advocates and judges. Okay. Chale, a very good reason could be safety and security, personal safety. But you need to establish before the licensing authority that there is a credible threat to your safety. Simply claiming that my life is not safe is not enough. Otherwise, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every other person will get get an arms license for himself. Well, essentially, this guy Ram Milan had applied for a firearm license for a revolver under Section 13 of Arms Act 1959, read with rules called Arms Rule 2016. Ground which he cited is personal safety and professional safety. Now, professional safety, this is something which court did not take really well. Court has observed that advocates requiring firearm license for safety is a dangerous practice. So if we allow it as a plea that I am a lawyer, I'm representing so many criminals, and therefore my life is always under threat, please give me license to carry firearms, then there are lakhs of lawyers in our country. That means that many gun licenses will be allowed. So that's not a very good ground to claim safety and precaution, to claim license in a country. So court has observed a couple of things. First of all, Mr. Ram Milan was not able to establish that he is a practicing advocate, and he was also not able to prove that there is any credible threat to his life and safety. So court rejected his application. He wasn't granted an arms license, and on top of that, court also made this observation, which was in news in last 1 week, that profession of an advocate is a noble profession, and the court says that a general trend to have a firearm license by an advocate without any reason is not appreciable. So not just they rejected his appeal, they also condemned his action. Another interesting news item comes from the state of Kerala. State of Kerala versus Suraj S. Kumar. So if you have ever listened to that famous Bollywood song, "Main Tere Dushman Dushman To Mera," this guy took that song literally. It's a very famous song from movie Nagin. So this guy named Suraj killed his wife using a starving cobra. So here you can see all three of them together. Suraj, his wife Uttara, and the snake. Wife is in the middle for those of you who couldn't find out. Chale, so Uttara, a 25-year-old homemaker, was found dead. A dead body was recovered with a snake bite. Initially, people thought that it's a natural death. So normally, लोग को लगा सांप के काटने से मर गए, which is a normal accident which happens in those areas. Later on, people suspected some foul play. Why? Because this lady was bitten by a snake couple of months back too. So, isn't it height of coincidence? Same person is getting bitten by snakes again and again, right? So, accordingly, a police investigation was conducted, and later on, things came to the light. A 1,000-page charge sheet was filed against this guy. What is a charge sheet? Charge means allegation. So, after completing investigation, the investigation officer (IO) will file a report before the magistrate. And if he finds credible evidence against the suspect, then that report is called a charge sheet. Allegation sheet can also be used. So, police during investigation also found a guy who supplied snakes to this person, and that person was also arrested. The supplier of snake was also arrested along with Suraj. And then entire conspiracy was uncovered, and we got to know that earlier he tried to kill his wife using a snake, but the wife was very strong-willed, and so she survived. So this time Suraj didn't want to take any chances, so he bought a snake, kept it with him for more than a week. That snake was starving for food, and then when his wife went to sleep, this guy goes to the room and throws a starving snake on top of his wife. So obviously that lady dies, and now this person shall be punished. Now tell me something, you might hate your life partner, but do you hate him or her to such an extent that you're willing to commit a murder, and that too in such an innovative way? In this case, this person has been held guilty, and therefore he will be punished. Punishment declared by the court is double life sentence. So double life imprisonment, which makes no sense. It is more of a poetic justice here. So दो उम्र कैद कुछ नहीं होता because this guy is a human being, not a cat, so he will not have multiple lives. Double life imprisonment translates to single life imprisonment. So this guy will be serving jail term for the rest of his life. But still, though this case was one of its kind, it shook the conscience of the entire society. Court has also commented that it's a diabolic and ghastly act, but still, they didn't give him death penalty. Why do you think that is the case? Why are Indian courts so hesitant in giving death penalty to any person? Let me just go through self-protection, self-defense. Yes, is a good ground. Champak, double life sentence means once you are given punishment, court will also classify whether you will have to serve those sentences concurrently or consecutively. So there's a difference. So let's say a person has been found guilty of dacoity, there would be couple of charges that you will be facing a trial for. Let's say I entered into your house, so that amounts to trespass. I used weapon to extract money from your almirah, that is extortion. If there were 5 or more people with me in my gang, then that also amounts to dacoity. So when I get punishment, I will be punished for all of these wrongdoings. But let's say, for example, let's say I'm getting 2 years jail term for criminal trespass. I'm getting 3 years jail term for extortion and 10 years jail term for dacoity. That doesn't mean that I will have to serve 15 years jail sentence. It simply means that I will be serving the longest sentence from that list. So that will be 10 years in my case, right? But if court thinks that this person has committed different offenses at different time stems or different times, then many times they give you consecutive jail terms. For example, take case of Baba Ram Rahim Singh Insan. That person has been found guilty in two different rape cases. So punishment for rape in India is 10 years, right? So that person should be punished for 10 years. And if we start counting all his sentences simultaneously, then the maximum jail term that that person will serve would be 10 years. So he is charged for rape and murder. So that person will serve 2 consecutive jail sentences for rape. So once you finish off your one sentence, then the second one will begin. In this particular case, court is saying 2 life sentence. So it doesn't make any sense. Whether I give you 1 life sentence, 2 life sentence, or 10 life sentence, you are still going to serve only 1 life sentence. So you will be in jail for the rest of your life. So what is the duration of life sentence? There is no fixed limit. We say the person shall die behind the bars. Okay. But still court is not giving him death penalty, because in India, death penalty is given only in rarest of rare cases. So looking at it as age and lack of any criminal antecedent. So this person is not uh, a recidivist. That means आदतन अपराधी नहीं है, कोई criminal track record नहीं है. So he did it for the very first time, right? But he did it with such a such a creative way that I think it should fall in rarest of rare case. भूखे सांप से बीवी को कटवाना, अगर ये भी रेयरेस्ट ऑफ रेयर में नहीं आता तो आई डोंट नो क्या आएगा. Anyways, and keeping in mind that this was his second attempt to kill his wife. Okay, Jody says, but then isn't that double jeopardy? Well, double jeopardy means you can't be tried or prosecuted or punished for the same offense more than once. In this case, there is single trial. There are no multiple trials happening here, right? Secondly, you are serving sentence, 2 different sentences for 2 different offenses. As I said earlier, अगर आप कोई भी offense commit करेंगे, there will be multiple wrongs committed in that entire transaction. For example, trespass. In this case, he is also responsible for holding a snake which is unlawful in a country. Are you allowed to keep snake as a pet? No. So that's one offense. You are conspiring with someone to commit a criminal act. So criminal conspiracy shall also be applied. He tried to kill his wife earlier, so that was attempt to murder. This time he is, successfully committing offense of murder. So that's another case. And the act was diabolic and ghastly. That means it is a very heinous form of crime. So keeping all these things in mind, multiple sentences were given, and 2 of those sentences were life term. So if you read the entire judgment, you will know कि इसको 2 life term के साथ साथ 17 years का jail term भी दिया गया है. So other than 2 life terms, he also need to serve 17 years jail term. So let's say अगर हम तीनों sentence साथ में शुरू करते हैं, 2 life term और 17 years. So for how many years this person will be in jail? For the rest of his life. That's the answer. I hope that answers your query, Joji. Okay. So why are they not counting it as rarest of rare case? Well, after your conviction established, court looks into aggravating as well as mitigating factors. Harshita. So what are aggravating factors? Anything which enhances your guilt, anything which increases your culpability. For example, I committed a murder, but I did it in a very brutal fashion. So let's say, take example of Suraj Kumar. He is killing his wife, but let's say it's not done in a spur of moment or a heat of moment. He did it in a planned, cold-blooded manner. So that will aggravate the guilt. Similarly, there are mitigating factors that will mitigate or reduce your guilt. For example, looking at the young age of an offender. Even in Aryan Khan case, do you know one of the arguments put before the court is that the accused is of a very young age. Correct? Another mitigating factor is lack of criminal record. I have never done anything wrong in my life. पहली बार गलती से mistake हो गया. So please, I am really sorry. Consider it. So that is what Aryan Khan is saying to NCB, and this is what Suraj Kumar said to the court. So when they have to balance your mitigating factors as well as aggravating factors, after looking at both the factors, court will come to a conclusion. So in this case, because this person is not a recidivist, recidivist means adatan apradhi, someone who will revert back to committing crime once he is released from previous conviction. So repeat offenders are given more stringent punishment in our country, because this is a first time offender and therefore we can't give him death penalty. Well, I think he should have been given death penalty because it should fall under rarest of rare case. But again, I am not the one who gets to decide. The judges will decide. and we don't know all the facts and circumstances of this case. Might be there are certain things which court kept in mind as mitigating factors and therefore decided not to go with death penalty or capital punishment. Another case that I want to discuss is Ram Dattan versus Devi Ram and others. Ram Dattan के आगे LRs लिखा है. Do you know what LR stands for? Ilma says even he was forced to pay compensation. That's correct. So this guy was also given, was imposed a fine of 5 lakh rupees. So he will have to pay 5 lakh rupees to the court. Okay. Ram Dattan dead by LRs versus Devi Ram and others. LRs means legal representatives. After your death, your legal representatives can continue with the litigation. This generally happens in cases of cases relating to property. So recently, Supreme Court has held that there is no limitation period for usufructuary mortgage. Now, what is the usufructuary mortgage and what is the limitation period? These are the two questions that should pop up. Now, what is a limitation period? Well, when your right is infringed, you get the locus standi, or you can say you get the cause of action to approach the court and seek remedy. आपका कोई भी हक छीना जाता है, तोड़ा जाता है, तो आपके पास कोर्ट जाने का हक आता है, right? But there is a time limit associated with almost all these cases. Court will not keep on waiting forever for you to come up. So, in civil cases, you will generally find concept of limitation is applicable. Limitation Act of 1963 prescribes time limit for almost all type of cases. For example, what is the life cycle of a check? If I issue a check in your name, that check is valid for a limited period. What is the life cycle of a check? A check is valid for only for 3 months. That's it. So if I put that check in bank after 6 months, that check has no value. Not 3 years, just 3 months. So a check has a lifeline of 3 months, validity of just 3 months, right? Acha, there's a time limit to recover debt. I was supposed to pay back your debt today and I defaulted on that. Now you get the cause of action to go to the court and get your money back from me. But if you don't approach the court for next, let's say 3 years, beyond 3 years, court will not hear your plea, court will not accept your petition. Why? Because there is a time limit of 3 years associated with the recovery of debt. Right? Okay. Yes, Ira, check ka lifeline is 3 months. That's correct. Ilma, that's correct. 3 months. VB, it's not 1 year. Okay. Similarly, recovery of debt, you get a time limit of 3 years. So in different kind of cases, there's a different time limit. So that is limitation period. So let's say if you approach the court after the expiry of limitation period, court is not saying that your right wasn't infringed. Court is simply saying that you have come after the time limit expired and therefore we don't have time for you. But again, if you can give them valid justification why you are late, why you couldn't file case in time, then many times court will do away with the limitation period, right? So that is limitation period. Now let's move on to mortgage. Mortgage is when you put immovable property as security against any form of debt. There are 6 different types of mortgages mentioned in the Transfer of Property Act 1882. One such category is usufructuary mortgage, which basically means that for the duration of the mortgage, creditor is entitled to use the property. So let's say if you mortgage your house in lieu of 10 lakh rupees, I can use that house, I can put it on rent, I can use it the way I want, but I'm not allowed to sell it to somebody else. I can't alienate it, right? So that is usufructuary mortgage, which means you are allowed to use it during the time of the mortgage. Who is allowed to use it? The creditor, not the debtor. So normally in cases of mortgage, there is a limitation period of 30 years. But in this particular mortgage, there is no time limit. This is what the verdict of the Supreme Court says. So no 30 years time limit will be applicable in case of usufructuary mortgages in our country. Okay. So a mortgage is always a mortgage till the time amount is repaid. This is the line which you should remember. Court has held that once a mortgage, always a mortgage. Mortgage is always a mortgage till the time amount is repaid. So there is no time limit. The person will keep on using your property. Creditor will keep on using your property in order to recover his debt, in order to recover the loan amount. Sorry, let's move on to another news item. Sorry, this is all I wanted to cover today. We'll quickly try a couple of questions. Death sentence can be awarded in the cases falling under one of the following: heinous offences, murder with motive, rarest of rare case, brutal cases. Death sentence is awarded in one of the following. Which one of the following? All heinous cases, all murders with motive, all rarest of rare cases, or all brutal crimes. I hope all of you attended CA catch-up session today. So we did try to cover a few legal news items in the CA catch-up session today. So I'm not repeating those news items here. Sorry. So try to answer in the chat box. We are not using Menti today. It's a very simple question. Correct answer would be C, rarest of rare cases. So in rarest of rare cases, death sentence can be given in a country. Okay. Next question. Did Mr. Ram Vela get a license for firearm? So did the court grant license of firearm to advocate Ram Vela? No, he didn't. Why? Because he wasn't able to establish that he's a practicing advocate. That's first thing. Secondly, he wasn't able to showcase that there is no criminal record, there are no pending trials against him. Third thing, court observed that it is a disturbing trend that advocates are approaching licensing authority to get firearms. So being in a noble profession, if you don't rely, you yourself don't rely on the law and order of a country, if you don't have faith in the legal system of a nation and you want to protect yourself using firearm, then that sends very negative signal to the public. Shall correct answer should be B. Last question for the day. A mortgage wherein the possession of a property is mortgaged till the amount is repaid is known as. There are different type of mortgages. Simple mortgage, also called normal mortgage, usufructuary mortgage, infructuous mortgage, insolvent mortgage. Well, if you look at TPA, you will not find these options. You will find other titles like simple mortgage, English mortgage, anomalous mortgage. Correct answer for this one is option A. It is usufructuary mortgage in which you give property to the creditor and he can use that property to recover the debt. I hope all of you enjoyed today's session. It was not at par with what we usually do because I didn't get enough time to cover or gather many news items, and I also covered some of the news item in the previous class today itself in CA catch-up session. So with this note, I will end it here. Thank you so much for attending. We'll meet again, guys. Bye. Show your support by clicking on like, share and subscribe. Always remember, share करने से ज्ञान बढ़ता है और साथ में subscribers भी. We have also started a new series called short videos. If you haven't watched that, go to the YouTube channel, check out all the short videos. And if you want us to cover any particular topic in short videos, let us know in the comment section below. Once all types of mortgages will be explained in your property law class, that is LA 4.2. Chali, bye.